Welcome back to Fantabulous Bags, where we draw handbags for product development, like specs and stuff like that. Okay, so the first thing we're going to introduce you today is the bag of choice, and that's going to be actually something a little techy. We're going to do a technical camera bag. Let me see if I can zoom out here for a minute. Here we go. So this is our friend here. He's like got lots of fun tabs and pockets and pull tabs and some nice webbing detail and a leather handle. So that's what we're going to do today. So now we saw our bag. First off, let's do a little bit of measuring. Sorry about this little weird thing over here. Let's see. So I'm just going to take a general measurement. So the bottom is 6. The height of the bag is 7.5. 6 and 7.5. And this is also about 6. Okay, very good. So it's kind of like a little bit tall. Let's see the side view. So I'm going to take 2 measurements here. It has this cute little pocket. So first I'm going to take this measurement. So it's 4, and this pocket is 2. So it's actually 6 also. So it's 6, 6, 7. Okay, pretty easy. Okay, so let's move this guy over here. And let's grab our pencils and zoom in a little bit. Okay, so now we're ready to draw. Okay, so it's pretty much a tall kind of little fella. So let's set him up. Always keep your sample, if you have it, close by so you can see all the details that you want to draw. Okay, so first off, we're going to draw the body without the front pocket. Makes things easier. Okay, so actually, let me give myself a little bit of a measure here. So I'm going to say, all right, let's go up there. Okay, I'm going to open this up too also. All right, there. All right, so I'm giving myself a little bit of an idea of the shape of the bag, which is pretty big. Well, it's kind of chunky actually, but whatever. So here we go, giving myself an idea of the outline, and it's got a little bit of a pouchy look here because of the pocket. Okay, so now I'm going to draw in that pocket, and that's going to add the extra volume of the 2 inches that we just measured. And it's got a little, well, just remember, drawing 3D, I'm going to erase stuff, but you want to make sure that you're accurate. So you start out by drawing stuff that's underneath, and then you can erase it. Just want to make sure that whatever you're drawing is accurate. Okay, here we go. Okay, we have a little piping here. Let's draw the piping in. All details have to be added. All right, piping. We'll see it on that side as well. All right, very nice. Very nice indeed. Okay, so now we have this great flap, which I'll show you again. It has like this flap that just kind of comes out from under here. Okay, so I'm going to draw the flap. Let's start drawing that. Draw it like that. So this has a seam that goes kind of like this around the top, and then it goes tucked under the flap. It's got a little bit of a trick to it. And we'll also notice here that let's zoom out a bit. The zipper actually is angled down. So we want to make sure that we have those details in as well. So the zipper is not actually straight across, it is angled down. So we'll draw the angled down zipper. Remember, this is like a little bit of a poofy look, so we make it rounded. And we draw it. It's going to go more under the flap, which is fine. Okay, so now the next detail is this flap detail over here. Okay, so let's zoom in and do that. Okay, zooms it in. Okay, there. So it has a cut in it. There. And now we add our flap, which actually bellows out a little bit. And then it comes all the way down till about here. So let's draw that in. So as you see, I'm actually obliterating some of the details I had already because it's going to get covered by the flap. But you draw them initially so that you get correct proportions and when you're actually drawing. Okay, so now this goes in there, okay, and this gets chopped off. There we are. So it had a 3/8 of an inch piping. We can start to erase stuff so we don't get confused when we draw in with our markers. Okay. Again, there we are. Doing great. Okay, so now we can really get rid of this stuff because now we have our flap. We know where it's going. We know where the other stuff is. Okay, we have our zipper going in the right place. Okay, so now we have this. I think this got a little bit too fat. So let's just get rid of that. Okay, so let's get rid of that. Yeah, it was looking a little too chubby on that side. Okay, so now we redrew. Remember, at this stage, you can erase as much as you want. Later, you can still do stuff, but it's not as easy. Okay, so now we have this design detail of this kind of, what is this? Kind of a thing that comes down here with this little webbing and little push lock. Okay, let's go for it. Oh, and not to forget this extra pocket, because camera bags, well, professional camera bags, not lady girly things, have tons and tons of pockets. So let's do our pocket first. We can actually go ahead and grab our little ruler. Let's go ahead, zoom right in, and we're going to grab our ruler. This line will probably go over it in a heavier, so it's got like a little corded zipper pull for some reason. I don't know why they did it any different, but they decided that it was better to do a corded one here, so let's go ahead and do it. Remember, we're just doing product development sketches. We're not really designing. That's the fun part, and you don't need me to do that. You can just do whatever the heck you want. Once you got your design concepts down and you know how to draw, you can draw whatever you want. Okay. And by the way, if anyone has like a really awesome like vintage bag they want drawn, just send me a picture. We'll draw it. We'll figure it out. Or even a sample. That's even more fun, to go to like vintage shops and just go crazy. Okay, so let's see. We're going to draw first our little zipper here. It's actually not a little zipper. It's like a kind of a big chunky one. Technical baggage, like for camera equipment and the such, usually have humongous zippers, which is good because they're less likely to break and also to get caught on little things. Okay, there it is. So we have our big zipper pull. We have our big zipper. And now let's do our design detail. So it's just like some kind of line here that just kind of comes down. Let's do that. Work smarter, not hard. Okay, here we go. Remember my teacher, Miss Neer. Okay. Work smarter, not harder. Okay, let's just think. I think this is going to be like that. And then it's going to come down to about here, and then it's going to curve around. There we go. Curve around the bottom. Let me get rid of this thing here. Don't want lines to confuse you. Okay, I think this one needs to be a little bit out more. Let's do that. Okay, so now we have our design detail. Now we're going to put in our little piping. Not piping, webbing. Okay, I'm not going to put in the logo. I'm just going to draw in that little plastic doodad that it has on the front. Okay, let me see if I got it right. Not too bad, but this doesn't look right now. Perfect time to correct. Correct. Everything that needs to be corrected before you ink that in. Okay, so now, what do we have here? We have a little loop that is going to hold on to our plastic lock here. Lock. Okay, let's see. Let's draw that guy in. So usually I start out with like a little square and then I give it some shape. Okay, there. So we get a size. Okay, that looks about the right size. Now we kind of like cut into it, which is the way it looks. And then it has a little there. Okay, now we have this little slider here, which is the rest of this. Remember, try to draw as much detail as possible, not to be fancy, but so that when you do your spec, it becomes so much easier. You just say, oh, this is a measurement here, this is a measurement here. So you can give all the measurements when you've drawn enough detail in it. Okay, so now, okay, that's almost done. We only have here is like this, we have to remember that it has a tack stitch there. And also it has this like ovally kind of detail. Let's just put in our ovally thing here. This actually could be added after. I'm not going to put anything. I'm just going to put this. You can actually change it on the computer. Making ovals and circles on the computer is much easier. But I'm just going to add something there to give myself an idea of where it's going to be placed. And eventually, it might be replaced. Okay. Okay, so now we have our zipper. Now we're going to do our top handle. Nice little leather thing, big piece of webbing, nylon, and a little bunch of leather over here. It's turned under. Okay, so let's do that. Okay. Alrighty, so it is over here, our big piece of webbing with a cross stitch for added security. Okay. And thinner piece of webbing. The webbing, we can add some detail on it. We could add it on the computer. We could add it now. Really doesn't matter. The computer might be a little bit easier. If you like using textures on the computer, you can just go into your swatch box and go into the gradients and the patterns and just throw a bunch of stuff in there. Okay, so now we got our leather. Now, again, that we're going to probably use also a texture on it to make it look more leathery. We've got to remember we have a little box stitch over here. Okay, so next we're going to put 2 more zipper pulls here. This is a good area to put it in, the zipper pulls in, because that's usually where they will hang. Also, it's not going to interfere because we have to put in the side pocket and the shoulder straps. So there we go. There we go. All right. There we are. Okay, so we have our zipper pulls. Actually, they were wrong. They're like that. Okay. Let's make sure we draw them accurately. All right. Now, we got that. Let's put in, take a look at our side again. Okay, so we have this mesh little pocket here, and all right. And it has 2 pleats. Okay, so let's draw that. We're not going to actually draw the mesh in because it really doesn't pay. Okay, this I'm going to make a little more curvy because it is kind of curvy once it's packed full of stuff, which this one is. Okay, so now we have our, actually it's up here and it ends about there. So this is the mesh pocket. I am not going to draw in the mesh because I want you to use, I'm going to use the computer to do that. There's plenty of good patterns in there so you don't have to drive yourself nuts driving, you know, cross-hatching stuff. I used to do that, but it really doesn't pay. So it also has a plastic kind of pull stopper here. Let's see. That's what it looks like. There it is. Okay, that's pretty easy. Okay, so let's put that in there too. All right. Excuse me. All right. Those allergies are just wonderful, aren't they? Okay. So now put in our little loop here. And we're ready. Okay, we have a little loop. It has like a little plastic bead here for some reason. I guess it makes things easier. Put the bead in. Okay, last but not least, let's make sure we show that this is sticking out. Okay, last but not least, we do our, actually it has a zip pull here with webbing. Okay, let's not forget that. Okay, we're going to do our shoulder strap. Now, I didn't give myself a whole lot of room here, so I'm just going to draw some of it. And maybe I'll do like a thing there. Okay, so let's go ahead and draw in our, and then I'm going to put it laying in the back so people know what it is. Usually when you're doing a spec, oh, this goes up high. Whee! Okay, so this goes up like that. It's a little bit higher than I drew it initially. Okay, so this goes up here. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, I see. All right. So this goes up like this, and then there's a D-ring here, which I'm going to draw on right now. D-ring. Okay, this is wrong. There. We have our D-ring, and then we put in our X here. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give a hint of the shoulder strap because I don't actually have it here in enough room in the sketch to do it. So I'm just going to give a little bit of a hint of a strap like that. There. Right. Now we're cooking with gas. Okay. So we give the correct usually what you do is you actually give it, when you're having a complicated strap like this, you'll actually give a strap, separate strap spec in the spec of the bag. Okay. Okay, so I'm just doing that. So I'm not going to do the whole strap spec because we don't have a lot of time on this. And we don't want to spend a lot of time just drawing a strap, which is much easier than drawing a whole bag. Okay, so you can actually make the strap completely on the computer. Sometimes easier, especially if you can borrow hardware specs. I'm saying borrow, not steal, mind you. Okay, so now we're just going to draw in our heavy duty dog clip. Okay. Okay, so it has a thing here, and then it has a thing that goes in front like that. Okay. There we go. All right, so we got everything. Yay! Ta-da! Down to business. Brush marker. Okay. We use the brush marker, as always, to do our outer edge. We want to make sure, because we are, what I'm showing you how to do today and every day whenever I do a video, is how to make a sketch that you can send in the computer, scan it, and then just do a trace, an auto trace, using Adobe Illustrator or some other illustrative. Adobe is the one I use the most, but actually it's the only one I use. And then you're able to color in textures because your sketch is pretty good. There's no openings, there's no missing parts. And that's what happens when you learn to do a really good hand sketch. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm going over any part of the bag that sticks out, like the edges, anything to make it look more three-dimensional. So wherever there is any idea of volume, we go around the edge of it. Okay, there we go. All right. Pardon my allergies. Okay. Okay, so we're going over the webbing because it is obviously standing out. There we go. All right. All righty. Okay. Now I'm also going to go over all the edges of, like for example, this pocket. I'm going over it as well. Being that because it's a kind of a mesh kind of, the pocket is a mesh pocket, I'm just giving it a little bit of a texture when I draw the edge. Not too much, you don't have to do too much because we're going to use some computerized stuff to give it some texture. So you want to add to it so it doesn't look strange, but you don't have to go crazy with it. Okay, so next we do the D-ring also because the D-ring obviously is something that has volume to it. Okay, here we go. Going around our zipper pulls, make sure that all your lines are closed when you're doing something like a zipper pull or the whole bag, because when you go into the computer and you do your trace, your auto trace, whatever it is, whatever it's called on your computer, you want to make sure that all the edges that need to be closed are closed. I usually like to, when I'm drawing straightish lines, I used to like to make it easier for my hand to draw, and I find it easier to drag my hand down. So whenever I'm doing something, a line that goes down, I just change the direction of the paper instead of changing the direction of my hand. Okay. All right, so now we are coming along to a place where we can start using a thinner marker. Okay, here we go. Doing great. We're doing great. Okay, here we go. Very nice. All right. Okay, I think we're okay. Let's go ahead. Okay, maybe like a line here. Okay, let's go ahead and use our fine line pen, I think. Yes. I always tell you guys to use fine line pens just because it makes life easier. When you're using fine line pens, the scanner can read them more readily, your lines. So you want to make sure that you don't lose any details. Use a fine line pen, not an extra fine, because that sometimes, unless you have like a super duper scanner, which I have never encountered, you will lose detail, and that's not good. Okay, so next I'm going to do this. Okay, so now what I'm doing is I'm getting all the seams and things that have no apparent volume to them. Like a seam is just a seam. It's a very thin line. Okay, so now, and details of 3D, items like this, I am just doing, okay. All right. Okay. All right. Here we are. Isn't that lovely? Okay. So now we can add, you can always add stitching details on the computer too. I usually don't, but you can. It makes things, it might make things easier for you. Either way, I like to do it with my own hands, but certainly there's a place for you to do it on the computer. So here, I'm going to remember to put in our details like this. We have this pleated detail. We have a seam here that's hardly going to show because it is a mesh bag. I mean a mesh pocket on the bag. Let me see if we have any top stitching here. We do. Okay, so let's remember to put in any top stitching that we need to put in. All right, zippers. All right. There. We're doing well. There. So now we're doing piping detail. Piping detail. I think it's the same color, which is fine. Okay. Now this is this styling detail. Okay. All right, this has a stitch here, stitch here, stitch here, and stitch here. Okay. And a stitch up here. All right. Zippers. All right. Okay. All right. Little details to the zipper. Our webbing strap attachment. There. Goes down into the pocket towards the back for some reason. I'm not quite sure why, but it does. and then it goes up here into a box stitch for the sake of, oh, did I just bump my camera? That wasn't very smart. Okay, here we go. We also have a top stitch here, which I just saw. So I'm going to add that. And around the zipper, of course. All right. And there's the seam here. All right. We just add delicately our details. All right. Now just a quick reminder that we are doing things for product development, not really for illustration purposes. Illustrators do a lot more detail and they do things a lot differently. So I mean, you could possibly pretty this up enough to be an illustration, but that is not what we are doing. That is not the purpose of this sketch. All right, there. Okay, so now we're almost getting to a point where we can erase. Remember, just get all the details. It is very true about the devil being in the details. If you don't add your details, your sketch is going to be a little bit off-putting. Now, in all reality, if you're just doing specs, they don't have to be gorgeous, but, you know, there's no reason to, you know, send your sample hand an ugly sketch. You know, just because they're a sample hand doesn't mean they can't see something pretty, right? All right, so here we go. Now, if you have a hard time doing curves, you can always buy a bunch of French curves and use those. Some people do that. And eventually you'll probably stop using them. I used to use French curves and then I just got used to doing them myself with the French curve. I stopped using the French curve and eventually they wound up in a bag someplace. So you don't have to use a French curve. It helps. You don't have to, but it might help you train your hand as well. So if you're having trouble with curves, buy yourself some French rulers. They're not that expensive. And you might learn a thing or two from them. Okay, so I'm just going to do this. This is actually a zipper, so that I'm adding a little bit of a thicker line there to show the to show the volume of it. So let me see. I use this to make a line as well, so let's do that there. You can use your rulers everywhere. Use them everywhere. Okay, here, there, and everywhere. Just remember, close all your lines, make them nice, perfect. Close, because if you don't, when you do your scanning, and then you try to do a trace, you're going to have like all sorts of gaps, and that's not very helpful. Okay, so we're getting someplace good. Okay, all right, so next is this little eyeball thing, whatever the heck it was. Now again, we can remove this later or cover it up with something. Okay, now what else do we need? Oh yes, we have to do the top stitch here. Doing our top stitch on the curve. Top stitch all the way around. And this side. Again, whichever way it is easier for your hand to work, move your work to accommodate you physically. You don't have to like go and twist yourself into a pretzel to get the line you want without moving the work on the table. Just move whatever you're drawing. Make it easier for you. You're the human, you know, whatever. All right, so you're the important one. Okay, so next is this. Like I said, all the webbings, we're going to add details with computer. Textures and all that kind of thing. So we don't have to add them now. If you wanted to, you could. And if you like to, you know, do cross-hatching and stuff, it just takes more time. Okay, so the last thing we got here is this. Our little cute little pocket, which I don't know if anyone ever used. I think it's for like batteries. Okay. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Ta-da. Okay, so now we have our cute little sketch over here. Now we grab our trusty cheap pencil, whatever. Make sure it's not going to dirty up your sketch. All right, there. And we erase and shake the table, as you can see. And we erase all our pencil lines, and then we take a scan or a picture, whatever type of mechanism you use to bring your spec sketch into the computer, and then it's done. You can put textures on it. All right, I think we got all our, okay, let's see. All right. Very nice. Ta-da! Okay, so I'm going to be working on textures next week. I hope you enjoyed this, and subscribe. Thanks, bye.